Welcome back, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that last match. Before we get into YongHwa versus First, we have a special treat for you guys. Over at the Barcraft in Berlin, they've put together a little video to show that they've been watching and following along and they care a whole lot about. So let's check this out. We're going to do that later, apparently. That's what the voice in my head says. But you know what? Why don't we bring out YongHwa on First? First up, from LGIM, YongHwa. And his opponent, housemate and fellow Protoss, First. So, who's the better Protoss?
둘 중에 어느 선수가 프로토스를 더 잘하는지 거의 비슷하거나 제가 더 잘하는 것 같아요. He thinks he's the better Protoss.
Oh, First thinks he's the better. Are you the better Protoss?
둘 중에 누가 프로토스를 더 잘하는지 제가 더 잘하는 것 같아요. Yeah, he thinks he's the best Protoss.
Oh yeah? Do we want to do a rock, paper, scissors here, see if we can figure it out beforehand? All right, gentlemen. Well, we're not going to try and settle this the old-fashioned way. We're going to settle this in the brand new way with StarCraft 2, Heart of the Swarm. So please, shake hands, gentlemen. I look forward to this battle. I know you guys are too. I'm going to hand it over to our analysts, Jurosar, QXD, and Harstem.
Thank you very much, Rachel. We've had the Battle of the Terrans here in Heart of the Swarm, and now we have the Battle of the Protosses. The winner, of course, goes on to face off against Yoda, who just defeated MVP in a very close series. YongHwa and First. I'm really looking forward to this. Harstem, do you have any predictions before the start of the series?
YongHwa's going to win.
YongHwa's going to win.
3-1. That's what I think.
That sounds reasonable.
I can hear another Artosis fist pump from here. I'm sure he's watching very closely indeed. YongHwa looking forward maybe to being in the finals here, but First has gone through some tough opponents. I believe he came top of his group as well, and he's just generally played just quite good. I mean, is there really that much that separates these two that immediately goes, yes, YongHwa is definitely the better player here? Like, what's the feeling there?
I don't know. I just felt like YongHwa had a really strong PVC and a really Heart of the Swarm style PVC. So I think he played a ton of Heart of the Swarm. And if there's one matchup that changed a ton in Heart of the Swarm, it's PvP. PvP used to be Robo Expand, Sentry Expand, Blink play on the maps where it was possible. And it just completely got switched around. It's completely different.
And also, it's worth pointing out, I realized why I was wrong there, or why I thought he came first. Of course, First came third in his group, but there were 3 people tied on 4 and 1, and it was just separated by map score as well. So it was actually that close at the top of Group B. But I mean, these guys live in the same house. The amount of practice they would have had, unless they were in maybe playing GSL recently, which, as we know, they weren't involved the last couple of days, is probably quite similar to each other, and they will have likely played a lot of practice games against each other as well. Now, we saw in TVT that we started ramping up the aggression throughout the series. MVP raised it a level, then Yoda raised it a level, and then we saw a ridiculous amount of aggression towards the end there. Is PvP going to be the same way? Or are we going to see the opposite? Will there be more turtling? Will there be aggression? What are we going to look forward to here?
Well, I think we're going to see Oracles, and we might actually see some DTs. Because people will try to counter the Oracles by going Twilight, and then he will try to counter the Twilight by going DTs. So we have like a never-ending circle of trying to hard counter each other, or counter each other basically. So I'm really curious what we're going to see. They might actually have found a safe PvP build in the LGIM house that they haven't showed yet. So I'm just really curious in general.
Yeah, I think almost besides, we haven't really covered a lot of PvP on this stream.
That's true.
And YongHwa's most notable win in PvP thus far in this tournament versus Parting the only person to take to actually defeat Parting in the group stage. So YongHwa, a very strong Protoss versus Protoss player.
An excellent point there, QXC. We'll see if he can translate that into the result he wants here in the second semi-final. Ladies and gentlemen, your commentators for this PvP, we have Todd and Kalaris.
Thanks very much, guys, as we now load up onto Ohana for our first game. And, I mean, who here has the balls to take the other one out and then advance on to play Yoda? It's an LGIM all-kill all day, all night long. This is going to be good.
We are just fortunate enough to get to observe their internal practice right now. I mean, I'm sure they are trying to win, but having to play against teammates at this stage in the game is going to feel so rewarding for all of these players.
Yeah, it really is. So, guys, we are now poised and ready to go into our second semi-final of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Let's jump on right into the game, as we do have, spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner here as our blue Protoss. Give it up for LGIM YongHwa. And spawning up to the top left as our red Protoss. He is the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice champion. Give it up for LGIM's first.
Recently, I met first on ladder, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this game. I consider Stargate and 3-gate openers to be the strongest right now in PvP. The analysis desk was asking about is there a build that right now seems to be the best in PvP, and for me that would be it. First, coincidentally enough, he went for the same thing. He opened with an Oracle first and then followed this up with Phoenixes. Oracle, why? Because if you can reach your opponent's mineral line, you're going to cause a lot of damage, and you can detect against DTs. Stargate always good against Robo. Only against Stalkers it can be tough, but that Blink research takes so long time to get, and you're going to be able to get Void Rays that deal very well against the Stalkers. So first, I think there is a good chance here. We may see him go for a Stargate, and YongHwa, knowing this, might try to counter maybe with DTs, maybe with Blink, maybe with his own Stargates. If YongHwa expects a Stargate, it is much less likely for him to go for a Robo.
So you think that the kind of metagaming and mind games might also play a really, really big part here as well?
Yeah, definitely. And we do see YongHwa opening with a double assimilator here, so he's going to go for a gas-heavy build. Usually, most of the time, this is going to be either a Twilight Council or a Stargate. First, he opened with only one assimilator, but he can even make one Zealot and then make his own gas. He's not made a Zealot so far. He's going to have enough money in a second. We're going to find out whether or not he makes one.
Just rallying straight on into those gas guys. There's two in each of those at this point in time, so really efficient gas income here from YongHwa to kick things off, whilst first slightly inefficient in comparison with only one gas geyser and 3 guys on there. So first, sharking around a little bit, having a look, see what he can find. Sees the fact that we do actually have now 3 transitioned on into both of these just before he actually poked in there. And just the pylon. So not really too much to read into right now for him.
And YongHwa strikes me as a very versatile player in PvP.
Yeah.
I used to play against him a lot on ladder. When I was in Korea, well, I think I'm 1-20 against him, so I think the score speaks for itself. But he goes for a lot of different strategies, and he seems to pick his strategies depending on which map he's playing on. So on this map, so far, he's gone for a very standard quick Stalker into actually a very quick Mothership core here, and we can still see anything out of him. And I like his 2-gas opener, whereas first, he's going for a 4-gate here.
Yeah, seemingly so here. Chrono boosting on that Cybernetics core very, very rapidly here. As for now, YongHwa, he's just went for a Nexus. He just built a Nexus, and a 4-gate is often very difficult to hold with a Nexus first, but Photon Overcharge here in Heart of the Swarm could provide a little bit more defense.
And YongHwa right now, he saw the Zealot at the Watchtower here. He knows there is a possibility for aggression. He's going to get the first quick sentry. He has enough to start another one. He's going to have to chain those sentries. If he wants to be able to hold, he's going to try to do some extra scouting here. But at first, as soon as the first warping here comes into YongHwa's base, there is going to be no room for mistakes. He has to hit the perfect force field and defend against this.
Yep, looks like he's going to try and poke up the ramp here with a sizable army. Even throws down the pylon as well. Will this force the cancellation on this Nexus is the question as well. I mean, it's no use. Photon Overcharge is no use if the Nexus is not finished just yet. The probe does die during all of this, but for now, he's still piling on the pressure here. 4 Stalkers warp on in, and YongHwa's got a bit of a tough time on his hands.
Yeah, the thing is, YongHwa doesn't know if it's a fake here just yet, so he's going to actually just lock a Stalker in, and killed it. I think we should see a cancel here momentarily. Oh, he might actually try with Photon Overcharge, but he doesn't have any force fields yet.
Oh, well, he's going to actually lose quite a few units here. That Mothership Core is very important. It throws down the Photon Overcharge on that Nexus just before it ends up dying off. He's going to focus down these sentries, though. He needs to get away from this. At the same time, Photon Overcharge in the main means that, well, the natural is going to be very, very vulnerable, as are all these buildings, because they're out of range. Oh, that's not good.
The problem for YongHwa is that he made his robo at his ramp here, so he wanted to save it. And, I mean...
Here you go, guys. GG for game number 1. First makes quick work here in the first game. Very, very apt.
I'm not sure what to say. He was trying to save his robo here. He let the expansion finish. He misread the situation. He thought this was a 3-gate pressure. 4 gates is much less likely in Hardest 1 because you cannot warp up the ramp. So it's just going to be significantly weaker, but I mean, YongHwa's build here just too weak against the 4 gates off first, not clutch enough. He didn't have the force field he needed, and he's gonna fall in this first game.
An impressive display here by First to kick things off, and what better way to start off a PvP series than going back to good old 4 gate. As for now, we will send it over to our analysis desk here, guys, with QXE, Harstum, and Jorisar.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. A very quick game number 1 there. And to be honest, as we were saying, Harstum, it was quite a simple conclusion at the end of it, actually.
Yeah, he just died. He didn't have sentries ready. He did have 2, but he didn't chrono boost the 3rd one enough to get that one out in time. If you have 3 sentries, you're going to be able to get the warp gate down. You will be able to put down a force field with the first sentry he would have had enough energy back again, and then you will just hold, put the planetary nexus on the natural, and you will be fine, or at least in a good spot. Better tech, more probes, 2 gas, basically ahead.
Okay, well, let's take a look. Let's jump straight into the replay here, since it was quite a short game. Let's take a look towards the end there and see the final engagement.
Okay, so the start went really well. He killed the probe, didn't really lose anything. I don't agree with this force field. The moment you see something like this, you're doing 1 gate expand and you don't open with a Zealot, I feel like you can grab 2 probes or 3 or 4 probes, put them somewhat on hold position, just so that he doesn't get in your base and runs around, then you have to chase him, and if there's a second probe, there's going to be a pylon in your base. You just want to hold position on top of the ramp with your Mothership Core, Stalker and a Sentry. You will be able to out DPS that 1 Stalker. You focus down the Stalker while the Zealot is going to town on your probes that you have on top of the ramp, and you don't have to waste your initial force field.
So what was the idea here behind, as we see, the Nexus does not end up being cancelled? Was the idea here possibly to use overcharge on that Nexus and to keep the units force fielded out?
Okay, I think at this point, YongHwa didn't, only now did he know that it was a 4 gate. It even could have been a 3 gate. 1 Stalker could have been rallied, and those would have been a warp in. Then you kind of want to hold your Nexus. There could have been a second gas. He didn't scout. Like we were saying, it basically all came down to not scouting at all. He had no map vision, only took his own tower, and if the Stalkers are in your main base, his robotics was out of position. If his robotics facility would have been placed here or over here, he might have been able to get out an Immortal and at least chase away the Stalkers, but it's going to be really hard if he has another Zealot warp in.
Really unfortunate there. Really good build, though. I mean, a good thing to try. Maybe, for example, these guys have practiced and know each other's scouting routines well enough that it was a build worthy of trying. Maybe First said, well, YongHwa sometimes doesn't scout when we're practicing on Ohana. Let's see if that's the same case here. We don't know that for sure, of course, but that looked pretty calculated from him, to be honest.
Yeah, it seemed like a really difficult position to hold from, particularly when you have so little information. Even that first Zealot Stalker poke, you don't necessarily know what the follow-up is. And like you were saying, even when you see a decent group of Stalkers, you're still not 100% sure because you had so little information. You didn't see how many Chrono Boosts your opponent used. You didn't see how many gases they were on. He wasn't even able to see a big warp-in at one of the pylons near his base.
Exactly, and like you mentioned, I think a good thing would have been to check with the Mothership Core if all the 4 Stalkers would have arrived at the same time or would have been warped in at the same time. Then you know if they arrive at exactly the same time, then it's safe to say, okay, this is most likely a 4 gate.
Well, a very, very quick 1-0 advantage here for LGIM's First. Will he be able to extend the lead, or is YongHwa going to claw one back? We'll find out, guys. The next map is Cloud Kingdom. Over to your commentators, Todd and Kalaris.
Game number 2 here. Cloud Kingdom will be our map as we have First and YongHwa facing off against one another. Again, we're in LGIM's practice day today. We're seeing these guys compete against one another, and it's only going to get more LGIM happy into the finals as we have one of these players going up against Yoda in just a bit.
And remember earlier I told you about the game against First where he went Stargate. It was on Cloud Kingdom.
That's true. That is very, very true here. So for game number 2, the second semi-final of the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. Let's jump right on in as we do have spawning up to the top right-hand corner here as our red Protoss. Currently 1 game up. Give it up for LGIM's First. And spawning down to the bottom left as our blue Protoss, having conceded the first game to a 4-gate no less. He goes by the name of LGIM's YongHwa.
And YongHwa as mentioned earlier, he's a very, very versatile player. He mixes it up a lot. If there is a map where you have the most chance to see Blink, it will be Cloud Kingdom. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for some Blink play here. It's going to be very strong. Less strong than in Wings of Liberty, obviously, because the research time has been increased by 30 seconds, and you're also going to have photon overcharge to help defend against this, which is going to make an expansion with a robot that much stronger against it. But YongHwa, if you expect a Stargate out of First here, you can be sure he might try to maybe add some Blink into his build order.
You're right. I mean, like just photon overcharge, for example, during all of that, it covers almost the entirety of your main when you actually throw that down on your main Nexus, for example. So that is one of the boons that Heart of the Swarm has given Protoss in terms of that defense. But for now, we have First here just opening up with the 2 gas geysers. So a little bit of a deviation from him from game number 1. And YongHwa also doing the same. So both players are going to get very, very similar gas incomes here with 2 in each to kick things off.
And First has actually put some effort into some scouting the potential proxies in his main. Whereas YongHwa is giving no respect to First as for this possibility of having him proxy. And, you know, if First is able to realize this, he could just proxy in all of the games and basically almost auto-win.
You're right, actually, with that. If he actually looks into these games, it could be very, very deadly here. As for now, YongHwa really not taking the correct precautions, but he's going to get away with it here on Cloud Kingdom. As one Zealot is on the way. And interestingly enough, First skipping Zealot, getting second gateway, so 3 Stalkers on the way for him, utilizing it against one of the pioneers of this little strategy.
Yeah, and YongHwa, when you go to double gate like this, it seems a little bit less likely that you will go for a Stargate because you're going to make 3 Stalkers, as you said, which cost 150 gas. Whereas if you go for the 1 gate like YongHwa, usually you get a Zealot followed by either a Sentry or a Stalker, and then you make your production building. But we might see a quick Mothership Core from either of these guys here if they want to go for a greedy build. And yeah, we do see it start for YongHwa here.
Yeah, that's on the way, so you can use that as defensively as you would like to, or even offensively to a certain degree. Some people end up wiggling it around and trying to get into probe lines, but it can be fraught with danger if your opponent has enough. Stalkers out like First actually will. As for now, well, he does only have the 1 Stalker. Where are our extra 2 Stalkers?
Oh, and YongHwa again, he's going... Wait. I played against this build on ladder, it might have been YongHwa. I played against a Barcode who did this exact build, and I thought it was so strong that I wrote it down on the paper, and I started using it as well. He goes for the very quick Sentry, he gets the Mothership Core out very early on. If you rush against this, a lot of the time he's going to be able to hold with clutch Sentries. In the previous game he wasn't able to do that, but he just misread the situation. Look at his Mothership Core, already 67 energy behind this. He has the Nexus well on its way, and behind this he's going to throw down usually a second gate and then either a Stargate or Robo, but in this game again he's going to make the Robo by his ramp.
And for now, First here is gearing things up with that Twilight Council. So technically, if YongHwa can get 1 or 2 Immortals out, he should be okay. Photon Overcharge is going to be very important as well, but, you know, he's only going to have 1 Photon Overcharge when this hits. So it's going to be interesting to see, actually.
Dark Shrine going down. Oh, First is base. So First is going to try to trick his opponent here, and he's only on 2 gates. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for 3 or 4 gates and with a big aggression here. I mean, he's only got 18 probes on his minerals, which is standard right now. If he continues on making probes, he's going to go for an economical build. If he doesn't, then it will be annoying.
Well, these 5 Stalkers are certainly doing a pretty darn good job. There you go. So that's Photon Overcharge, pushing those Stalkers away for now. Going to be very, very hard for First to actually even continue this assault, as the Immortals are going down as well. An Immortal before Observer, that can be quite risky here.
Yeah, but you know, he has the sentries. If DTs come, he can force field them out until he gets an observer. So right now, I like YongHwa's position in this game. But first, he's going to go for the Nexus behind this. And it's all going to be about when the observer comes out and if it goes immediately to the opponent's base, or does it stay here. But YongHwa, he's seen 5 Stalkers. I wouldn't be surprised if behind this, he's...
Oh, he gets 3 of those. That's a really nice pickup there for YongHwa as he pushes First right on back. But at the same time, First coming in with his Mothership Core here to do a little bit of that poking harassment that we were talking about before. He doesn't have that many Stalkers, so the Mothership Core should, well, it might not be able to get out actually. It's better. Well, yeah, it will get down. Oh, even Time Warp there just to make sure it does.
And we have 2 DTs out on the map. They were warped by the pylon that First made close to YongHwa. They're not being used right now. I think, oh, he's looking at the watchtower. He waits to see the observer move out here because he knows there is a robo. That's so smart. So he's going to wait a little bit longer here. And he's hoping that the observer will be as far as possible from YongHwa's base.
Yeah, the vision of First. I don't think he barely just didn't see that, but now he's actually just going to go for the assault here. Where is YongHwa looking? He's just looking at his main base for now. Now his natural...
Oh, he just saw it. I was looking with his vision. He just saw it. So he's going to be able to react very nicely here. He's sending by the observer already.
He actually sent his rally from his Nexus there a little bit as he realized that the blow was actually there, and that's going to do quite a bit of damage indeed, killing off a few probes, holding YongHwa back as well during all of this, and he's getting Blink behind it. One of the DTs managed to slip on through actually once that second observer actually comes out. The DT is still actually running rampant here, being quite annoying.
Yeah, YongHwa having a tough time here, sending his observer where it has to be. He's going to follow one of those DTs, but First he's dancing very nicely wherever that observer is not. And with 2 observers out on the map now, YongHwa is going to be able to stabilize. He's fallen to 29 workers to the 34 of First. And First doing a very good job here, catching some economical leads. But he's only starting his robotics now, and he's going to go for... He's actually just completed Blink.
Yeah, and I mean, First has to be very, very careful right now because YongHwa's army is looking pretty formidable. So, but I don't think YongHwa can really move out too far because there's always the threat of like Dark Templar and stuff like that, and as well as First also getting Blink and finishing that up. Even extra threat on the middle of the map.
He's actually bringing his Mothership Core near YongHwa's main, so he's going to want to Blink up there and really start to do some damage, take his opponent off guard, and if YongHwa is not ready, if he does not see this coming, he might lose a lot of probes here during the first Blink, in which case he will fall very far behind because he's already quite some probes behind with 42 probes for YongHwa, 38 for First.
YongHwa for now, separating his units just a little bit here. And there's natural though, but the aggression does come along here. It's going to try and poke out on a lot of probes. Does get quite a few already, 1 or 2, and it should be pushed back for now thanks to those Immortals. And will actually just Blink out straight. That was really actually nice choice of positioning here by First.
Yeah, you're First picking off 2 sentries here, nicely done. He's going to try to keep on pressuring his opponent, but realistically he should not be able to achieve much more at all.
Photon Overcharge dealing with that at the natural, but he's going to try and bring down one of the Immortals. He actually moves a good chunk of those Stalkers back whilst the Focus Fire goes down. He brings one of the Immortals down for 1 Stalker, blinks straight out as well, and Time Warp even saves the Mothership Core.
And First's micro right now is unreal. He's on 47 probes against the 41 of YongHwa.
Oh, don't think he's going to get that though. He has to blink back. Almost.
He has to be careful. I mean, that Mothership Core is pretty fragile, but First he really wants to keep on with the aggression here, as YongHwa has enough army, both in his main and expansion, to defend quite with ease against this right now.
Photon Overcharge lasts forever here. First just keeps wanting to poke in, but he's not given the opportunity to, as that Nexus is providing quite a lot of firepower, and he's got 100 energy again. He just throws it straight back down on the Nexus. And he can't do anything. Oh, the Mothership Core goes down. Time Warp's on the way, though. He's going to try and use this opportunity to actually do some damage to all of this position. But Photon Overcharge ripping up some of those Stalkers, focusing them down really nicely.
First trying to trade some shield here to kill units, using Blink very nicely, but this is not going to do much. A hallucinated Oracle is about to fly into YongHwa's main. I don't think he's going to panic against this, as he does not have any Photon Overcharge ready. And in the meantime, First has been doing a very good job of making probes, but it was a very big mistake to lose his Mothership Core that easily. So he's going to remake it behind this. He's adding 2 extra gates, and he's not taking 2 Colossi so far.
And he's going into double Stargate play here. This could be very interesting indeed. Why don't you tell us about the potentials of double Stargate play, Todd?
I think it can be either Void Ray or Phoenixes. He has noticed that his opponent is going for a lot of Robo units. As we do have a couple of Stalkers here, overextending a little bit. And I think YongHwa, if he hits a timing with 3 Colossi, this might be deadly against First. It's all about, will First go for Phoenixes? Will he go for Void Race? And can he get enough before YongHwa hits a timing? We might actually see YongHwa go for a third, but I mean, he's not making many probes right now. He's stopped at 48.
And YongHwa adding on the second Robo, is he gearing up to just go into a standard mid-game? Or this doesn't seem very timing-esque, right?
Yeah, I think he wants to hit a big timing, most likely. He might throw down a third, but when you're adding this many gates, I mean, he's going to go up to 6 gates total plus 2 Robo. He's not made a single fort just yet.
Oh, the hallucinated Phoenix just barely sees those 2 Stargates. A fantastic little scout here by YongHwa. He can now start to prepare. He cancels the second Robo instantly in response, grabbing a few gateways extra as well, getting as many Stalkers as he can do out, because he knows that that air threat is on the way with those Void Rays.
And I think YongHwa right now, he realizes that he's going to face no Colossi. So if he gets 2 or 3 Colossi of his own and hits a big timing with my Stalkers, he should be able to steamroll First.
He really should. I mean, it's currently 124 supplied to 117 here. A little bit of that is in favor of First in terms of the worker counts, but realistically, that's not the big story here. The big story is that YongHwa has so much firepower in those 2 Colossi right now that, well, I mean, that's going to be a lot of Void Rays as well, actually.
And YongHwa right now moving out, he's going to claim the Watchtower on first side of the map. First, he's scouting with an observer. He sees that YongHwa is going for a third, but I think he should know by now that there is about to be a timing hit, as he does have enough energy for this Photon overcharge on his third. Lots of Stalkers being whopped in by YongHwa, and this is going to be so hard for First to deal with this. I mean, he has a couple of Void Rays, but he needs more.
6 Void Rays almost now as YongHwa starts to barrel down on his opponent's third. I don't think he's going to be able to hold this. He has to retreat the probes. He knows that as well. He sacrifices the third. This is a good blow from YongHwa, but still, it's still 2 bays to 2 bays. But there's so many Stalkers here.
And look at this amount of Stalkers. Can First hold this?
I don't know. He's going to have to use Photon Overcharge probably as well here to try and make this work out. He does throw it down here, denying YongHwa just a little bit of positioning. Gets a pylon for his troubles. Second pylon's going to go down as well. First, supply blocking his opponent, being supply blocked even right now, as he's trying to get more Void Rays out where he can. But I mean, this army is so strong from YongHwa right now.
And YongHwa, he cut probes early on. He's remade a couple more. Oh, he's about to engage here. He's really hesitating right now. I think he's going to wait until Photon Overcharge expires. But as I said, that streams in.
Oh, he's going to go for it here. Time Warp goes down every single position as the Stalkers actually are melting quite quickly there to the Void Rays off the back of this. And actually all of the army at the front here from First, he's doing a really, really good job. There's actually not that many Stalkers left over. Only 9 left. They've absolutely melted under this pressure from the Void Rays. It looks like he's actually just going to kill all of this off. And now that there's no more Stalkers, there's only 3 left. First pushes in and GG! Oh my god, First takes a second win here with a very, very strong Void Ray push.
I can't believe it went that well, man. This Void Ray is really getting rid of those Stalkers so nicely. I thought that without Zealot and Archons to tank here, he was going to lose badly, but in the end, with the defensive position, with the Void Rays being above the cliff, this helped so much.
It was a perfect angle here for First. There was no way the Stalkers would have been able to close. They didn't have Blink. Sure, he had high ground vision, but there was not enough Stalkers to bring down the units that were dealing the most damage to him. And wow, First is looking great in PvP right now.
It is.
All right, guys, we're going to send it over to our analysis desk here with Jorasar, QXE, and Harston for game number 2.
Thank you very much, gents. Well, First has now gone 2-1 up over, 2-0 rather, up over his opponent, YongHwa. Definitely just 2 very, very impressive games, but the second one lasting a lot longer than we saw in game number 1. And we have some similar themes here because game number 1, we were talking about doing things blindly and scouts being late. We had our fair share of that in game number 2 as well, didn't we?
Yes. So the opening was 1 gate expand into Robo, then 3 gate, against 2 gate DT expand. He opened up with a 3 Stalker rush, I think he warped in 2 more stalkers. Actually, those might have been rallied as well. I think they were warped. With a mothership core, doesn't really matter. He goes in, sees the Nexus, like, okay. Then he loses 4 stalkers, or 3. I think he loses 4 stalkers.
Yeah.
And he's in a really bad spot. First, that is. First is in a really bad spot in this moment. He needs to do damage with the DTs. Instead of going in while the army is there, he waits for YongHwa to move out. Normally, after you kill stalkers, you had a 1-gate expand, you have better economy, you have a good infrastructure, you're going to do a push with a War Prism. He didn't get a War Prism, but he did want to do a push. This was the trigger for first DTs to get in and do damage.
Yep. The DTs did do a fair amount of damage. They're killing about 8 or 10 probes. Putting first, not evening things up a little bit more, putting them about equal economically, but I'm not really sure. It was hard to say exactly who was in the advantage because even though first did some economic damage, YongHwa was a bit ahead in that robotics tech.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking during the game about how at this point of the game, it really comes down to a bit of scouting because as soon as the robotics bay was scouted, double Stargate went down. So that was the first reaction. And then we also noticed that the double Stargate actually took quite a while for itself to be scouted, which explains a little bit about the unit compositions there.
Scouting the robotics is a thing that you get when you research Blink. When you research Blink, you're going to get in your opponent's base. It's a bit the same how Widowmine drops or just in general drops with Hellions work in TVT. You're going to get a lot of information. You get to see if it's bench or not. It's the same in Protoss against Protoss. You get to see if he's getting robotics, if he's getting a Stargate, or if he's doing Twilight tech.
It seems like with the build that YongHwa did, though, where he gets those early sentries and early nexus, once you establish that you're safe, because it's past the time of some of those 1 and 2, like early 2-base all-ins, you should be able to spend 100 energy and go hallucinate something and go check out your opponent's base. And that just felt like it came from YongHwa very late that game.
Okay, so
let's hop into the replay here, guys. We're going to take one more look at the battle in the end, and I think a lot of stuff here really illustrates why scouting the double Stargate a little bit late turned out to be quite bad for YongHwa.
So here we do see the Colossus killing this pylon. YongHwa's just kind of bouncing back and forth. He's not really sure if he wants to engage with the cannon going off. Meanwhile, First is trying to accumulate just a couple more Void Rays, making some units. I like this decision to kill the rocks. It makes it a little bit easier for YongHwa to disengage if needed. And then getting closer and closer, deciding. And finally, YongHwa decides to go for it. The Void Rays up above, doing tremendous amount of damage. And YongHwa's army just not quite strong enough.
Yeah, and I like what you said about being able to disengage by killing the rocks. He did kill the rocks, but then doesn't disengage this battle the moment the Void Ray charge. I thought that was a bit of an odd decision. Just trying to head-on fight with the Void Rays while being charged. They're so extremely strong, and when they're not charged, they're actually not strong at all against a lot of Stalkers.
Yep.
There were only 6 Void Rays and 29 Stalkers, and non-charged Void Rays don't kill Stalkers.
Yeah, I mean, if we think back to Wings of Liberty, Mass Void Rays was not really a unit composition in PvP. When Void Rays in Heart of the Swarm aren't using their charge ability, they're weaker than Void Rays used to be. So it seems like if YongHwa had baited the prismatic alignment ability usage and then immediately backed up, maybe thrown some force fields down to make sure there was no engagement, the moment that ability wears off, just go in and kill him.
Well, First is now 2 games up on YongHwa. This is a best of 5, which means that if he wins the 3rd one, he manages to take it 3-0. Can he do it, or will YongHwa fight back? We'll find out in just a moment, guys, as we head on over to your commentators for game number 3, Kalaris and Todd.
It could come down to this. Currently, First 2 games up against YongHwa, who was considered a very, very strong PvP contender during Wings of Liberty, is now on the verge of elimination. Can he bring it back, or will First take that 3-0 win into the grand final?
You know, thinking about it, First might have a better shot at taking down Yoda than YongHwa, so this might not be. This might be for the better. Remember, he's your Intel Extreme Masters Katowice champion. He's won the last big tournaments. First year is really showing that he's going to be a force to reckon with in Heart of the Swarm.
Yeah, I mean, even at Katowice, admittedly it was Wings of Liberty, but First was able to dominate the Terran, I think it was Dream, in the very, very final. So it's First carrying over here into Heart of the Swarm. He understands the differences in the matchup and things like that. So anyway, we'll get our player intros done and dusted, as we do have spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner here as our blue Protoss. Currently 2 games up. Give it up for LGIM First. And on the verge of elimination, our red Protoss spawning up in the top right-hand corner. He needs your cheers. Give it up for YongHwa.
I keep talking about the Stargate builds, but they just won't do it, man. They go for 2 Stargates in the mid-game. This is not what I've been talking about. I've been talking about the quick Stargate with the 2 gases early on. They just won't do it, man. I think if there is a game we might see it, it might actually be on Daybreak, because even in Wings of Liberty, this is one of the best maps to go for a Stargate on. Because a lot of people, they go for a Robo and they expand. And also, Blink is much less likely on this map. You don't have any space to really maneuver around the expansion. Yeah. And we have First opening with 2 simulators here, as YongHwa does the exact same. So Stargate versus Stargate, will it be Christmas today?
It may be Christmas. That pylon there gives us the indication that he may end up hiding some tech. So does that for First. These guys are doing exactly the same. As for now, we will have him moving out to do a little bit of scouting. He actually did check, First checked once again for proxies, but YongHwa, again, not a big fan of doing that. Yeah,
YongHwa needs to be taught some respect out of First. He's not scouting for those proxies.
If I line up against YongHwa on the ladder, it's very unlikely. I'm going to proxy him.
If one day there is a clown war and we have to pick a player to send against YongHwa, we'll pick you and then you'll proxy him and win.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's going to be, I'm going to do it, and everyone's going to be like, Kylar's beat YongHwa, oh my god. And then YongHwa's probably not going to play StarCraft anymore after that, poor guy.
Or he'll hold with a single Stalker.
Maybe, maybe. But for now, we do have another pylon going to be finishing up here for YongHwa, and he's been completely scouted. Meanwhile, YongHwa doesn't give a damn what his opponent is up to, apparently on the other side of the map. No scouting for him, he's just going to play his own game.
Oh, the Stargate, yes!
Yeah, that's 1.
So we have 1 Stargate against 2 gates right now. First, he's going for his first Stalker behind this. He's most likely going to make another one. He could go for his Zealot, you know, to basically keep on some extra gas to make that Stargate earlier. And YongHwa is gone for a very greedy build here. Yeah. Extremely greedy. He's gone for 1 Stalker into Stargates. No Mothership Core just yet. He's going to add a 2nd gate. And Warp Gate Research is what he call. First is a little bit ahead, and First is actually chrono boosting his Warp Gate Research here.
Oh god.
Could we see a 2-gate or 3-gate pressure or something like that?
Well, if so, I mean, it will be a pretty good choice. It will hit home pretty hard here, as First adds on Gateway. And whilst we have 2 gateways now on the way for YongHwa behind all of this. So he's trying to get those gateways out quickly so that he can accrue a little bit of defensive posture. He already has a sentry there to block the ramp, buy him some time. But this 3-gate aggression is looking like it's on the way.
Yeah, and YongHwa, oh, he might fight the pylon. Oh. He's searching with a Stalker for potential proxy pylons. And I like that YongHwa has a probe on the map. If you hit at this timing and your opponent wants to be aggressive, you're going to be able to see it most of the time. But now YongHwa is only... Actually, he can't even confirm whether or not there is a Nexus, so he's going to play pretty much blind here for a moment.
Super, super blind indeed, as he's trying to mass up Phoenix, but sometimes when Phoenix pop out and they don't have that much energy, they're not very useful in these engagements. It depends on when First actually hits here, as his pylon's done and dusted down to the south. He's actually moving that probe around to the right-hand position here to go for maybe another pylon, even at a more proxy location. And First he's going for a Stargate, actually.
Yeah, and YongHwa, he didn't keep the watchtower behind this, so he does not know those units are coming. He's going to have to use some very good reflexes here to be able to force field this ramp on time. I think we're going to see a cancel on the Nexus. He's going to start warping for 3 gates as the Phoenix Arras begins.
Yeah, it has to be sentries for now. I mean, these 2 Phoenix, this is a lot of his army value, and they're all the way over the other side of the map. Oh, he tries to force his way up here. He clips just a few hit points from those sentries, so they're going to survive, and they're going to be out of range, but a Nexus cancel is almost inevitable here.
Yeah, he has to come back with his Phoenixes right now, and YongHwa should start warping in Stalkers. He's going to need a lot of Stalkers to deal with this. If he can lift his opponent's Stalkers, he can defend very easily, but it looks like he wants to just trade for now. He wants to kill his opponent's probe. He wants to keep on force fielding that ramp. He lets a Stalker up just to be able to kill it for free, and he does have extra force fields right now.
Oh, he's got the high ground vision. He will be. Oh, just barely does not catch one of those sentries there. One hit point on that, but he lets a lot of it up as well. There's a little hole, a second force field. It has to be thrown down here. Those sentries, they're not really going to do too much damage here. They're trying to kill the mothership core. That goes down, but will he be allowed to actually get up? Well, that is the last force field that YongHwa is going to have, unless he actually warps in one more sentry. There is the one sentry. He brings back the Phoenix as well. YongHwa is just barely holding on during all of this, and as he catches even more Stalkers, the sentry that warped in at the end was so pivotal.
Yeah, but because of his miss micro and letting a few units too much up, he lost a couple of probes, and right now first is in.
Yeah, he is, and those Zealots are going to tank more than just Sentry Tickles. They're going to tank the Stalkers as well. It looks like YongHwa is plummeting in terms of supply right now. Even probes dying off left and right. If he can just kill off the Stalkers, the Sentries, it's only going to be probes left. The Phoenix, they have very little energy left over to continue all of this. As first, warping in a few more units. Ice Prox Pilot, there you go. GG! First takes the series 3-0. In the pre-match interview, they were asked who the better Protoss is, and in PvP, we've certainly determined that, Todd.
Yeah, first, so impressive, man.
Good God. I had a heart attack.
I finally got my Stargate versus Stargate. It's not quite the Stargate versus Stargate I was expecting. Huge aggression put on by first, and YongHwa just not good enough force fields at this ramp to be able to hold, not good enough reactions, just like in the first game, and he was overcome here. And first, he's looking so strong going into these finals.
Yeah, very, very strong indeed. And that is going to wrap things up for our semi-finals, as we have first going to be taking on Yoda, two players from LGIM that, you know, maybe some people would have bet against, with MVP and YongHwa in the mix as well. But these two players flying the LGIM flag proud here. It's the quadra for them in that semi-finals. But for now, we're going to send it over to Rachel for an interview on the stage.
Congratulations first. I want to know, which of those strategies did you guys practice together, and which ones have you been keeping in your back pocket, secret from your teammate?
같은 팀 소속 선수끼리 이제 게임을 했는데 서로 일부러 모르는 빌더들을 썼나요? 아니면 연습한다로 한 건가요?
그냥 첫 판은 그냥 기선 제압으로 그냥 빠르게 공격을 받고, 두세 번째는 그냥 상대 그냥 보면서 맞춰가려고 했는데 허무하게 좀 끝난 것 같아요.
He just tried to be very aggressive at the first game, and the second game, he just scouted the opponent and adapted.
Well, you have another teammate that you're going to be playing against. I want to know how much strategy sharing goes on in the house, and who is responsible in the house for coming up with the new ideas.
이제 다음 상대는 요다 선수, 또 같은 팀원인데 팀에서 이제 연습을 하면 얼마나 이렇게 서로 빌드를 알고 타이밍 같은 걸 아는지.
아무래도 연습 많이 해보다 보니까 그런 거는 좀 대충 알고 있고, 근데 상대가 좀 요다여갖고 좀 힘들 것 같아요.
Yeah, they know each other very good because they practice a lot together, Yoda and him, and he thinks it will be very hard.
I'm sure it will be a difficult match. We're going to catch that soon. We're going to take a closer look at this PvP before we head into our all LGIM final. I hope you guys are excited, and I want you guys to show him your support. I'm going to hand that back to our analyst.
Thank you very much for that, Rachel. And well, 3-0. First takes out YongHwa in a complete clean sweep. Did either of you predict that?
We could have fit 2 of those series into one goody TVT.
It's entirely possible. He's playing in another hall at the moment. He's probably still in the first game. We'll have to check that out a little bit later on. But guys, game number 3 there on, the game on Daybreak. Talk us through the opening before we get to the final battle, because obviously what happened there is really, really important. But let's talk about how we got there.
It felt like in all of these games, first always seemed to come out of the opening a little bit ahead. Well, I guess not in Cloud, but the first and the third game, it felt like first had a better read on what YongHwa would do.
Yeah, I think YongHwa trusted more on his macro builds, more on his own skill somehow. I think he thought he was better in the how longer the game would be, the better he would get. So he played macro openers, and we did see first use a lot of pressure builds. First game 4-gate, second game DT expand, and the third game he went for a 3-gate pressure into some kind of Stargate play.
Yep.
And it's that 3-gate pressure that we want to take a closer look at now. So let's jump straight into the replay, ladies and gentlemen, where we get to see at the 7-minute mark what this pressure is looking like at the ramp of YongHwa.
Okay, so before I'm going to start the replay, I want to take a look at the state of the game at this point. We see 3 sentries, one with 72 energy, one with 61, and one, he won't have a force field for a very long time. 3 phoenixes in the base of first. The thing is, if YongHwa can just hold this ramp for a long time, he's going to get ahead in probes. He just keeps on killing the probes with those 3 phoenixes, and first will have to do something about it. He will have to do a defensive warp in, whether it be 2 or 3 stalkers, or he needs to defend his phoenixes. That's really important. If he can defend his phoenixes, he's just going to fall behind, and after a while, when there will be 5 or 6 phoenixes, it's going to be impossible to defend both fronts. Instead of properly force fielding, YongHwa made a small slip-up, which might have cost him the game. He waits pretty long here with the force field, and 1 stalker slips in. This isn't that big of a deal, because 1 stalker isn't going to kill him. There's no high ground warp in anymore. He warps in another sentry. He almost loses this one, but he's still in a pretty good position. However, this distracted him so much that he missed this force field. Now there suddenly are 3 stalkers and a zealot in his base. Focusing down the sentries, YongHwa first is doing a great job denying more force field from YongHwa. YongHwa doesn't really have the gas for 2 more sentries, gets 1 more in, and will be in time. He gets 1 more force field, but right now he doesn't have the gas for another sentry, and this force field is going to run out very soon.
One thing that I didn't notice during the game is YongHwa is actually sitting at almost 800 minerals at this point in the game. Should he have actually gone up to 4 gateways at this point, or was this more just, or sorry, a 4th gateway a bit earlier, or was this a product of just the fact that he was only warping in sentries and so he wasn't spending his minerals effectively? Like, what happened there?
Okay, he wanted to go for a 3-gate Stargate expand, I'm sorry, and when he did see that there was an attack coming, he had to cancel the Nexus. Suddenly he had 400 more minerals, so he threw down the 4th gate as quickly as possible. He didn't really scout the 3-gate threshold, didn't know it was coming. Otherwise, I doubt he would have made the Nexus. Also, normally when you do Stargate builds, you're going to have 2 or 3 sentries, and then you don't have a lot of gas because you want to get tech up, you want to get a robo up, you want to get a few more phoenixes, so you don't have a lot of gas. You're going to build mainly zealots. So it's pretty normal at this point of time to have that, now not that many minerals, but a ton of minerals in comparison to your gas.
Do you think he could have held if he had brought those phoenixes back instead of killing those probes, and maybe use them to zone out the mothership core or possibly pick up 1 or 2 units in that fight?
If he would have force fielded the army in half and then attacked from a small distance with the sentries, and if he would go first would go further forward, then lift it, I think it would have been a nice touch. But the main problem for YongHwa was that he had no offensive pylon on the map. If you have an offensive pylon on the map, because normally if you defend, first would have just contained YongHwa with sentries, stalkers, with a lot of stuff. He wouldn't be able to go down for a long time. You need either Blink, a War Prism, or Colossi to go down a ramp that is being contained by force fields. If he would have had an offensive pylon, he would have been able to YongHwa would have been able to go for a base trade with phoenixes and maybe some zealots. But so it's really hard to say, yeah, he should have gone back with the phoenixes, because he wouldn't have been able to ever get out.
Right. And like you said, the real mistake there is missing those force fields, letting those units into your base. The first Stalker kind of led him a little bit out of position to the point where when he needed to put down that next force field, the sentry just wasn't close enough.
Yeah, theoretically, the Stalker could have got in, he might have still been able to get back with that sentry to force field the ramp. But you get to a point there where you're sort of in damage control mode, or at least panic mode, and you're starting to get more and more things to keep track of. And that's sort of what we saw that pushed him over the edge there. It looks really easy if you're just looking at the stream as an observer, but when you're actually in the game in that kind of situation yourself, making sure you select the sentry that has the energy for the force field, moving it away from the rest of the army that's still trying to kill off the Stalker, making sure you land that force field in the perfect position, and then regrouping your units, it was just a little bit too much in the moment. So guys, it looks like first is going to be our finalist. He will be joining his teammate Yoda in the finals. That one is going to be a best of 7, an all LGIM final, of course. But perhaps the two players that fewer people predicted to advance to the finals are actually going to be fighting it out.
Yeah, I definitely expected MVP to triumph over Yoda, and I also expected Parting to beat Yoda, so perhaps I'm underestimating Yoda a little bit consistently throughout this tournament. Be very interested to see if he's going to use some of the strategies that we saw him use against Parting. And also, I'm kind of feeling behind Yoda, we're going to see MVP, and behind first, we're going to see YongHwa.
Yeah, absolutely correct. Of course, these guys are all teammates, giving each other tips throughout the series, and there's going to be a little bit of a Terran versus Protoss intra-team battle. Now, guys, if you're sitting at home and you'd like to get involved in the discussion here at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, do so via our raid call group. The group ID is 1997. We've had that running all week long. We've had Q&As on there as well. All sorts of cool stuff being given away too, and you can still join in the fun just before the final. But before we hop to a commercial break, there's also one other message we'd like to give out to you guys. You may remember Meltdown, the esports bar opening up in Paris. Well, they, of course, have recently opened up another branch in Berlin, and they've sent us an exclusive message.